Hello world! Inktober is over and so is my voice. Well, I've been sick for the last few days and I've coughed my voice into a slightly deeper pitch, so if you think I sound a little bit funny, that's why I've rested my voice for a bit so it's not as deep as it was earlier today. Now it just sounds broken and sick, so I apologize for that. In today's video, I am going to discuss what I have learned during Inktober and my thoughts once it's over. A little bit of an overview and, well, just sharing what I've learned. This year has been very interesting. I have learned more than I actually thought I would. I learned things that I'm actually pretty surprised about. The first thing being, I noticed that when I draw sometimes I hold the pen in a way I never thought I ever would. I've been looking at people drawing and I've been thinking, whoa, they hold their pen really far back. Why do they do that? And as I've watched my own footage, I have noticed myself suddenly starting to draw with my hand further back on the pen, and I was completely unaware of that I did this while I was drawing. And well, I have no idea how long I've been doing this, or if it's just a side effect of having to draw under a camera where I can't really sit as close to my art. I don't know if either one of that has anything to do with it, but the result is apparently I hold my pen very far back sometimes, and sometimes I hold it so far forward that I actually hold the graphite of the pen, and that's something I'm aware of because suddenly I'm running out of pen and my fingers are touching the paper. That's something I was aware of, but I was not aware of that I put my hand so far back. I think the word that will be describing the entire experience of Inktober will be experience, because doing a video pretty much every day has taught me a lot, and you will hear me repeat this word all throughout my video, because it's just, you have to realize that quantity will always give you something. Even though you need quality as well, quantity does give you a lot. My next point on this list is I have learned a lot about recording traditional art. I'm a little bit lazy, so I actually prefer to record digital art. I recorded a lot of digital art that I made, but I haven't uploaded it into videos because I've been busy and lazy, and we'll get to that later. But I learned how to position my tripod. I've made a situation where I have a baked bean little can hanging off of it, so I can film in a position where you can't see the legs of the tripod, something I was struggling with a lot. I had the first mishap on the very first day of Inktober, as I used to have one of those holders for the phone that I used to have. I attached it with a clamp on my desk, and then I had it hover over the paper to record. So first thing I had to do was wait for the thing to stop wobbling, and I could not anytime during recording touch it because it would start wobbling and the camera would record wobbling all over the place. So that was a difficult thing, but that was everything I had at the time. So when that one broke, it was improvisation time, because I didn't have a backup plan. I was planning on using it for all of Inktober, and then I tried to clamp my phone into it and it just fell apart in my hands. I had a brief moment of, what do I do now? But then I realized that I've seen a lot of artists who have proper setups with real tripods. They attach a weight to their tripod so it won't flip over from the weight of the camera, and I thought, well, I don't have time or money to go out and buy one of those weight things, and I think that's really ridiculous to have to buy something that's just there for weighing something down. So I thought, I have a bunch of cans that weigh a little bit, they weigh more than my phone, so why don't I just put one of those in a plastic bag and wrap the bag around my tripod? And so I did. I also got the idea from when I was recording an unboxing. I managed to film in a way that I couldn't see the legs of the tripod, which is the issue with recording using the tripod I had. I have a very, very cheap tripod, so it's nothing fancy. It's very lightweight, and that's why, just putting my camera on it can make it fall over unless I'm recording at more or less a straight angle. So I set it up, and I will show you a picture here of me using it. I think it has helped me a lot that I got a new microphone. I upgraded from a blue Snowball to a blue Yeti right before Inktober, and I think that's helped out a lot with the quality. A lot of people have recommended the blue Snowball, saying, oh, it gives you alright audio, but me personally, I have had a lot of issues with it being very quiet. When I was streaming, people couldn't really hear me, and a lot of people would comment on my videos that they couldn't hear me, and this microphone is just a lot louder. It records everything at a much louder volume, so I have the exact same settings in my audio recording program, Audacity, and it's just a lot better. I still can't help anything about my actual speech and my noises I make with my mouth when I speak, but at least you hear me clearer. Now I just have to practice my muddy speech. Which brings us to my next point, which is doing these voiceovers every day has taught me a lot about just talking to a microphone and just interacting with it, because it's actually really hard. That's something you don't think about until you're talking to a microphone. You have to think about what you're gonna say, you have to say it fluently, and if you are following a script, or if you're following bullet points or whatever, you still have to keep those in mind, and you need to pronounce properly. And that's just something you need to have experience with. Hearing my very first video on this channel, sure, I had the microphone issue, but I also had the issue of I couldn't speak up, so the audio is very mumbly and I sound sad and I'm sorry for existing, which isn't too far from how I was feeling. So I've gotten a lot more experience with that, and I think I've gotten a lot better at talking to a microphone and talking to you through my microphone, not just saying hi to the microphone itself. And if you think I've improved, feel free to leave a comment about that, because I'm curious. Do you agree? Do you think I've gotten better at talking through the microphone? Something else that I've learned is more about my limits. I mentioned earlier I was busy and lazy, but that's not everything. I just felt like making a video was too much work. And it is a lot of work if you want to make a high quality video in a short amount of time. And by doing a video every day, of course I had to cut down on the quality. I couldn't edit everything, and you notice it still today because I'm doing this video with a fairly short time frame too, so I don't have the time to edit out every time my birds are singing in the background or making noises. You're gonna have to live with that until I found a way to make a little studio where the birds can't be heard. But small things like that had to be compromised. I didn't have time to make voiceovers that I have to re-record 3 times, especially when it's just a long ramble about my opinion on something, because I can't replicate doing that ramble over again, and I feel like it won't be as good the second time. But when you have more time, you can think things through, you can learn from the first ramble and maybe improve on it, but I didn't have time to do that every day. Now, however, I know more about my limits. I know what I can do in a short amount of time. I know that it's possible. If I can make a video in one day, in those 4 hours I have between coming home from work and going to bed, then I know that I can spend a week doing a little bit every day and I can release a video on the weekend. I also know that now that I'm more comfortable with drawing under a camera, I still have ways to learn a bit to go, because I still have issues with not being able to put my face on my art. That's why I will be doing a lot of sketch work from now on, where I can sniff my books if I want to, and then I will make a sketch flip through if people are interested in seeing that. But for now, I still got a little bit more comfortable with it, and I can do little drawings, and I can make a traditional art video in a day if I want to. So if you have something you want me to draw, like I could have a draw this video every week, I could probably fit doing one more high quality video and then a little short something on the Sunday, like I'm doing now, because I've been sick, so I haven't had any energy or health to record anything a little every day. I tried to go back to work and that failed miserably, and I had to stay in bed doing absolutely nothing for 2 days. Going back to what I said about the microphone, I feel a lot more aware of how I speak and what I say. I do not have an issue with saying like all the time. I do not have an issue of saying everywhere, but I've noticed I say and a lot. I also repeat a lot of words, because that's something you do when you're not scripted and talking straight out of your head. I'm also not a native English speaker, so my grammar is really off at times. So I've become more aware of what I say and how I say it, and I will probably do more re-recordings in the future where I notice my grammar is off. Just because I know the grammar doesn't mean I always use it correctly, and that's something I've both gotten more aware of, better at controlling, I hope, but something I will have to do a lot more editing work on in the future. And with that awareness, I've also been more aware of how I phrase myself, where I intonate my words, because I say things in funny ways. I think I emphasize words in a certain way because in my head I hear myself talk, but it doesn't come out that way when I actually speak. So I've learned a lot more about that, and I realize more why people misunderstand me in real life, because I don't sound the way I intend to. So the words I say come off really wrong, and it's very easy to misunderstand me. So that's a life skill I am going to have to deal with, and hopefully it's something I will become better at in the future as I do more speaking and listening to myself talking. Doing Inktober has also gotten me into the habit of drawing every day, and it's something I actually miss. I feel like I am more productive and I miss art in a way that I didn't do before. And while I am not up for a real challenge for November, I think I am done with everyday challenges for a while, I still feel like I will draw more every day, and I will really use my sketchbooks. So by the time of next year, instead of just having barely filled one sketchbook, I will hopefully have filled more than one, but I'm not making any promises on that. But if this trend keeps on going and I keep on doodling more, I think that's a realistic thing to expect actually. Another thing that's also related to audio, a lot of things related to audio that I've learned through Inktober. I've also learned just how bad my asthma is. I have been editing the audio quite a lot, so you might not notice it. It might just sound like I'm super inexperienced at talking, but I have to breathe a lot. It takes me a really long time to breathe in, and I can't speak for very long because I have asthma, and I've realized just how bad it is. I used to do a lot of voice recording for fun when I was younger, and I could talk for a really long time without even needing to breathe. And when I breathed in, it took a fraction of a second and I had filled my lungs, and now it takes so much time. I've been kind of shocked of how bad my quality of speaking actually is. So that's something I've learned. Not a fun thing to learn, but I do have an illness and it's really affecting me, and I wasn't aware of how much it was affecting me. I just realized that it was hard to breathe sometimes, but now I know that. And it will also be interesting to see that now that I am on medication, will it get better? I think it's gotten a little bit better since I made my first recording with my iPad unboxing, because that was really horrible. I went to the doctor after that, and I think it's gotten better, but it's really bad still. I've learned how to edit a lot more. I've learned how to do color adjustments. I learned little tips and tricks here and there. I know I haven't edited very strange or difficult things into my videos. It more or less looks like I just cut out some parts where I wasn't actually drawing, and I have popped in a picture in one video. So it doesn't look very difficult, but I still learned a lot because there are little small tweaks that you learn to do. And well, just getting more experience with it has sped up my editing. It has taught me what to look for and other things like that. And because I was doing a video every day, I also had the chance to try out not just one but two different editing softwares. I took a while trying out iMovie, for example, because I was tired of only being able to upload in 720p, because I can record in 4K, and some videos I have recorded in 4K and you can't tell, and it feels like such a waste. So I tried iMovie, which can render 4K, and I tried editing on my iPad. I will be making a review about that, because there's a reason for why I went on and tried the second, which is the one I'm using currently, and it's a much better freeware. Of course, just like Lightworks, which I have been using before. It's a paid version and a free version, but the free version allows you to do a lot more things than the paid version. The paid version seems to be less focused on functionality and more function on community, actually. So I really like that, and if I ever have the money, I would probably start buying this software just for the sake of it being a fairly good software, and the freeware version is so good. So that's why I'm using DaVinci Resolve 15 right now. I like it, and I'm very happy I got to try it out. I would not have had the time or energy to do that if I didn't do Inktober, because I had to make a video every day, and then I used the time during the weekend to learn it, and then I got a hang of it during the weekdays when I didn't really have the time to try out new things. Another thing that I have learned is I've learned a lot more about YouTube. I made my first end card for Inktober somewhere in the middle and I also started to make thumbnails that were more interesting and more unison looking. So just uploading to YouTube has taught me a lot about being a better YouTuber, which was a little bit unexpected, but I'm still happy about it because I've tried new things. Apart from the pen thing, most of these things that I've learned so far are mostly behind the scenes things, and that's because doing Inktober I have not had the time to do reference studies or doodle. I did not thumbnail anything. I just went in and I drew. What you see is everything I did, more or less. The only thing that's not on camera is thinking about what to draw. And some days I actually sat down and I thought up what to draw on camera. I just cut out those few seconds where I didn't do anything. I was just thinking about what to draw. And that's one of the things I had to compromise with Inktober. I also learned that when you don't have the time to do things properly, you can't really progress. Although I have to say, I did learn to see my progress from last year. People have been telling me I've improved a lot. Personally, I haven't been able to see it until now. Sure, some of my better works have been referenced, like the heart with the chains. I actually looked up the reference of a human heart. The chains are purely out of my head, and you can tell the contrast between the chains that I just made up on the top of my head and the heart that I actually used a reference for. I also used a reference for drawing Bono. My little accident because I was so tired in the middle of it all. And I still think that I've improved. You might not be able to see it, but I see how I draw realism differently. I've seen how I learned and become more comfortable with drawing, because I lost a lot of skills during the years I had given up on art. And I just need to get familiar with my pen again. My muscles have lost some of their memory, and I can see now that during this year I've been active as EverythingIsNAnd. I have picked up the pace, more or less. I'm not back to where I felt I was, but I'm getting there, and I'm close to getting there, and soon I will start to surpass where I was before. And I'm looking forward to that, and I really hope that everyone watching this will stay tuned and follow along on my art journey. So, for next week's video, I have no idea what I'm going to do, but I have a list of things, and I suggest you stay tuned and subscribe to follow and find out. I hope you enjoyed my little recap on what I learned this Inktober, and I will hopefully TTY later.